Hello everyone and welcome to this final episode in this series I like to call Reluctantly Human. As always, my name is Rob and I'm your reluctant host and author of the book Just One More Drive, the true story of a stuttering homosexual and his race car. If you'd like to buy my book, it's available on Amazon or on my website and the links are in the description below. As I've said before, I'm totally biased, but I believe it's a pretty good read, so feel free to check it out. If you've been following me in my previous videos in this Reluctantly Human series, you will see that I've been focused quite a lot on self-development, whether that's learning to be your own best friend or finding joy in little things. And as this is going to be the final episode, I wanted to maybe take a step outside of inner work and working on ourselves and looking at the bigger picture. I wasn't quite sure what that was going to be, but I was having dinner a few weeks ago with one of my favorite humans, Coach Nina. As well as being an amazing coach, Nina is an amazing cook and she fed me steak, so you can imagine I was a happy camper. After we had had dinner, we were sitting back talking about our lives and pretty much lamenting our youth. I was telling Nina about how I was so excited to come here and be an actor, how I had quit my first job in Vancouver because my boss hadn't allowed me to take time off to star in a film I had been cast in. I was telling Nina how I went into his office and I said, I came here to be an actor and that's my passion. I didn't come here to be a teacher. I can do that at home. I'm really sorry, but I have to follow my dream. And as I was telling Nina this story, I was remembering how certain I felt, how self-assured, how much faith I had that I was on the right path, that this was the path for me. Nina smiled and said, "So what happened?" And I said, well, I made the student film, didn't get paid. My agency closed soon after that. I was running out of money. My boss hired me back, which was pretty lucky for me, under the condition that I didn't take any time off to do any more acting. It made sense at the time. I needed to make things work here and I needed a job, and passion and faith can only get you so far. But I've been in that job now for 10 years, and as I was talking to Nina, I couldn't help but think, wow, what happened to that version of me? Where did my faith go? Nina had a twinkle in her eye and said, maybe that's the topic for your next video. I smiled and said, thank you, but really I shuddered inside. Faith is not something I would consider myself an expert on or really to be qualified to talk on. When I think of faith, I do think about one person in my life, my Nana O'Brien. She was a woman of faith. She was a Catholic mother who raised 16 children in Ireland during the 1950s and 60s when that was commonplace. And like many people of her age, she had faith in the church. And it always surprised me. I always wondered how she wasn't angry or resentful at her life. She had a happy life, but I don't think it was easy. There was never a huge amount of money. And I never heard her complain about her lot. I once asked her why, and she said, I've got faith. And I said, well, how does that help? And she said, Robert, it's really important in life that you have faith in something other than yourself to help you through the dark times. Wise words from a wise woman. My relationship with my Nana O'Brien was actually quite a special one. It was one that I look back on very, very fondly. She passed away a few years ago, but I grew close to her when I began to drive. I usually had Friday evenings off, which was quite funny, and I would drive up and visit Nana on a Friday afternoon, and we would sit and we would talk, and this became a habit for years, and it was a very effortless relationship. I didn't need to call up to her. I wanted to, and I certainly benefited from it in many ways. Having the head of the family having your back meant no one could ever say a bad word. But I would hope that she also appreciated it. When I decided to move to Vancouver, she was supportive. She believed if I had any chance, I would need to be here. And I kept in touch with her by sending letters. But on one trip home, I shared with her the recent events of getting cast, leaving my job, losing my agent. And I was honest with her. I said I felt a little bit lost. She took a pause, stood up, went into her living room and came back with a church medal in her hand. And she said, "Here, take it." And I had a look at it. I hadn't seen any of these church medals since I was in school years ago. And it was a medal of St. Jude. This was someone I'd never heard of. And I said, "Thank you," I think. I was a little bit hesitant. I wouldn't have classified myself as a religious person. In fact, God and myself hadn't spoken for many years. But it was a gift from Nana, and I took it. I took it home, in fact, and looked at it further and Googled St. Jude. And to my horror, it turns out that St. Jude is the patron saint of desperate and lost causes. And I was annoyed. I was like, what the heck? Why is Nana giving me this? When I said it to my father, he said, "Robert, stop. I'm sure he's the saint of hope." And I was like, "No, Dad, St. Jude is not the saint of hope. According to Google, he's the saint of desperate and lost causes." I jumped in my car and I drove back up to Nana's house and was knocking on the door, and she opened it and I came in and I said, "Nana, I have to ask you, why did you give me a medal of St. Jude?" She began to laugh and she said, "Well, I'm assuming that you looked up and saw who he was." I said, "Yes." And she said, "Well, I figured you just needed it a little bit more than I did," and began to laugh in my face. Drop the mic moment a la Nana. Now, I got my own back on her a couple of years later when I had finished writing just one more drive. My publisher asked me to dedicate the book, and I knew there was only one person who was going to get dedicated. It would be Nana, because she was at this point my #1 fan. So I wrote it up, I sent it to her. And she then had to ask me, "Robert, why are you dedicating the book to me?" And I said, "Well, Nana, here's the thing. If this book, it does amazingly well and I become the next J.K. Rowling, which I fully expected to happen, by the way, we were going to go and do America. We were going to do Ellen, and we were going to eat steak, and we were going to live the high life, and I was going to show her how to live." She kind of smiled and went, "Okay, I hope it stays fine." And then I smiled and went, "On the other hand, Nana, if this book is terrible and people hate it and it's never a success, I'm taking you down too." And she grimaced and went, "I don't think I like the sound of that." And I said, "Well, I don't think I like being given a St. Jude medal either." Drop the mic moment a la Robert. That was essentially our relationship. Like I said, I would like to think it was special, and she was someone who was, despite all of her hardships and despite her advanced age, she was always someone who struck me as being very young at heart and willing to live life to the fullest. As I said, she passed away a few years ago, and she's been on my mind recently, especially after talking to Nina about faith. That idea of losing faith, that idea of not having the same kind of belief that I had in myself in the past. And Nana was there too in my head. I'm thinking, wow, when I say she had faith, I really mean it. When she was passing away, she was surrounded by her family and she was saying her prayers. She had a stroke, so wasn't fully able to speak, but she still remembered her prayers, and as she faded away saying them. And that brought me a lot of comfort, because I think she was ready to go, and I know that faith gave her courage and also gave her comfort when she was taking the biggest leap of faith any human can. So here we are in this final video, and I'm talking about faith, and I've shared all this backstory. Where am I with it? Well, I was like, how do I explore my faith? How can I maybe reclaim my faith or teach myself how to take leaps of faith again? And I was like, well, I guess I should start praying. Now, I haven't prayed in years. God and myself stopped talking. I used to pray that I wasn't gay, and I used to pray to God that I wouldn't be asked to read in school. And invariably, when I was asked to read in school and I would stutter my way through 3 or 4 lines of a paragraph, break down and cry, deal with being laughed at, I would blame God. It was God's fault. He'd obviously made me this way, and I wanted nothing more to do with him. So I figured if I was going to start praying, I should probably mend that fence. So it took me a few days and a few nights, and eventually I sat down at my desk, had a cup of tea, took a few deep breaths, closed my eyes, and was like, okay, hi God, this is Rob. I know it's been a few years, and I'm really sorry we lost touch. Let me be honest and admit to you, I was probably the a-hole when I was a teenager. I see now that you have made me in the way I was meant to be made, and that my calling in life is to maybe overcome these challenges rather than making you totally wrong. I don't know if I was expecting any sort of an answer from that, but it did feel pleasant. It felt honest, it felt authentic, because it was. I had blamed him. But I then didn't really know where to go with this praying malarkey. And so I kind of thought, hey, so God is, Nana there? How's Nana doing? And began to talk to Nana. I was like, Nana, hi, it's me. Listen, I'm sorry, I know it's been years as well. Things have been busy here. The book is launched. Still trying to get it out there. As you probably know, 2020 has been a very funny year for us humans down here. And as I kept talking, that kind of humor drifted away, and really the more honest kind of feelings emerged, where I said that I missed her, and I was feeling tired, and I was scared and unsure what to do. And I couldn't escape the fact that really I would give anything to be back home in her house right then, having a cup of tea and hearing from someone wiser and older than myself, and more importantly, someone who had utmost faith in me, what I should do. Like God, she didn't answer. But like talking to God, it felt good. And for the last few days, I've taken on this praying habit. And as weird as it sounds, it's been a comfort. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go and pray, and I'm not going to say that I'm qualified in any way to, state what faith should be or how it should look, whether it's a belief in God or a God or a conscious universe. I'm not going to put that out there. But for me, taking inspiration from my Nana, it's pretty much that idea of talking to God and talking to people. So, and it's a curious thing. As I find myself opening up to this idea of faith, I can see where a lack of faith, or where I've had a lack of faith in the 10 years living here in Vancouver. It's been an amazing experience. I've achieved many things, and that's not to take away from all of that, but that idea of having lost faith, things became hard work. Whether it was the acting, like you were taught as an actor in acting school, don't have a fallback plan because then you'll fall back. So we're all trained to work hard, to take every leap of faith, to push, to do whatever it takes. And that can be exhausting if you follow that for years on end. Writing a book, getting just one more drive out, there were nights where it was like, my God, I don't know if I can take this back and rewrite what I've already said. And I can see where having faith comes in there. I think about Nana, where she would have maybe been at the church praying for all of her family, and she didn't have a choice to give up, and she would probably pray for what? And I thought she'd probably pray for just get me through this day, get me through the next week, and then we'll see where I'm at. Thank you very much. And thinking about the book, thinking about the acting, it was that same kind of journey. You're like, look, just let me get the next audition. Let's see what happens. Let me edit this next chapter and I'll see where it goes. And the funny thing is, the action is the key. I've spoken about this before, that the action is what's needed. You can sit and think till you're blue in the face, but the action is what's needed, and the faith is what keeps you taking action. The other aspect of faith that's really hit me hard in the last week or two has been the concept of letting go. You can push and you can try, and you'll get a lot of people telling you that that's what you have to do. But the question that I was asking was, when do you know to let go? When do you know to say, okay, I've tried it, I've given it my best, it hasn't worked, I'm letting this go, and I'm going to be open to what other door opens. And the big question for me in Vancouver that I keep getting asked is, when am I going home? And one of the things that's kept me here is this idea that if I keep working a little bit harder, if I keep putting in that little bit more effort, something is going to occur. But after 10 years, it's left me feeling tired. And I'm like, is this making sense? Does it make sense? And it's not about the fear of going home and starting again. It's not about the fact that everyone else's life has moved on back home. It's not even the vague sense of embarrassment I feel going home with my tail between my legs, having not become a science fiction actor or J.K. Rowling like with my book. It's the question of, can I live with myself? Can I be in my bed in 6 months' time back home in my parents' house and feel okay with the decision I made, not feel the sort of query or that kind of questioning, what if I'd stayed longer? And I can see where you have to have faith in that kind of situation. You make a decision and you have faith. You have faith that maybe going home, there's opportunities there I don't even know right now. And having faith that there's always opportunities. But the faith, rather than always trying to push, it's like taking yourself in hand and exhaling, giving yourself the space to exhale and go, okay, let's assess, maybe this isn't the right choice. The final area of faith I see really is in who I've become. The version who came over here and was all self-righteous and ready to quit his job to be an actor was a younger, more adventurous, more open-minded, happier version of me. I joke about it, and people who know me well know I can be quite cynical, and I mask that with a layer of humor. But I know I've become cynical. I know I've become bitter. I see younger people. I'm even teaching a young teenager at the moment, and she's amazing, and she's hardworking, she's happy, she's hopeful. She wants to be an artist and go to Italy, and she has the talent. I've seen her work. And I look at her and I think, God, I used to be like that. What happened to me? So the faith, having faith that who you were in the past isn't lost, isn't gone forever. It's who you can learn to be now by giving yourself that little bit of space, taking yourself in the hand and going, it's okay. Let's assess, take a breath. There's still life to live. There's still so much room for faith. And I think back to my Nana. I think back to all the years that she kept the faith and how that right now is inspiring me, because in many ways this feels like a kind of crossroads situation. Do I go home? Do I stay here? Can I let go? Feeling the need that I do need to let go. And yeah, what can I say? She kept her faith. She prayed as she moved on up into heaven, up into whatever comes next. That's powerful, that's inspiring. And as I wear her St. Jude medal, I smile. And I smile now even more because how right she was. And also smiling in the sense of gratitude with how inspiring she was, how she kept herself going, how she kept her faith alive, and how she never fell into that trap of being bitter and being, that kind of victimhood. So Nana, thank you. I'll be probably chatting with you later on, with a cup of tea for old time's sake. So if you've stuck with me, thank you very much for sticking with all that story. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't even know if it's as good as the previous video or if that even matters. I wanted to offer this as a nice kind of bow tie or a nice way to tie up all of the other videos. So I do plan on being back in a couple of months. I don't know how the video format is going to be. This has been a grand experiment for myself, and I'm going to hopefully be back towards the end of the year. So keep an eye out. I will certainly share on social media. And also feel absolutely free to leave comments in the comment section. This idea of faith it's another fascinating topic. What gives you faith? How do you find your faith? How do you find it helps you in your everyday life? Feel absolutely free to share. I'm always excited to engage in the comment section. So with all of that being said, that's the end of episode 5. I've been Rob, this has been Reluctantly Human, and I will speak to you in the coming months. Be good, be safe, and keep the faith. Thank you.